Hey, welcome to the additional gear module. I'm doing an updated one because there has been some time since we recorded the first one and I have made new purchases and there are new cameras and lenses. So I just wanted to go over those with you today. I brought Steven.
Hi.
Steven is here because he has dabbled with the R6 on the video side much more than I have. I've only had my hands on the R6 in a video sense a couple times, but he has shot YouTube videos with it. He shot video at weddings with the Canon R at first, but he had it in combination with a monitor, which we'll get to. I also have the R5 now. I bought that the week of the launch of the Classroom the first time and have been using it here and there for video as a B cam or C cam, but I have purchased the C70. Obviously in the first module, I talked about the C200. Both mine and Mike's are filming us right now. But the C70 is what I decided to go with this year. The goal of this module is not to try to convince you to buy anything Canon, buy any of these lenses, buy any of the things we're talking about. If you're in the Canon ecosystem, you might want to consider that. But if you're in the Sony lineup, like don't feel like you need to make the switch over just because we're doing that. Maybe do your due diligence in figuring out what cameras are comparable to the things that we're talking about, and doing your own due diligence and figuring out what we like in these cameras and what that could be used for in the the ecosystem you're in. So I'm just going to start jumping into why I bought the C70 first, and we'll kind of work our way backwards to R5 and R6. Steven has had a good bit of work with the C70 as well, as we've been doing YouTube, Patreon, the course, now with updated modules, just gotten a lot of work with it so far. So the biggest reason I wanted to make this upgrade was it is the C200 in a smaller body. Like it is literally a chunky version of the 1DX Mark II. And it's everything I've loved about the C200 in a smaller body with better features and access to RF lenses now. So what's really cool about it is that it has the built-in ND filters just like the C200, so I never have to screw on a variable ND filter in the front. It has the same exact batteries, the BP system, BPA30, BPA60 will work in that, and this BPA60 will last me like all wedding day. I can still mount my NTG4 Plus onto the camera. The only difference here is it has mini XLR on the side instead of normal XLR. So I had to buy these conversion cables, go from XLR to mini XLR, and mini is about a third of the size of normal XLR. Not a big deal when you're shooting weddings, because if you just rig out your rig with this cable and it just never leaves the camera, no big deal. But for things like YouTube and commercial work, it's kind of annoying, I'm not gonna lie. Because standard is just XLR all the time, and having to remember to bring that along if it was broken down can be kind of annoying. Not that big of an issue. It's double SD card slot, so I'm not working with CFast cards anymore. And then internally and lenses, like I said before, I have an option for RF lenses now. Faster, sharper, better autofocus in some senses. And the biggest thing for me is that it records in C-Log 2. The C200 only records in C-Log 2 in RAW, and it does do C-Log 3. This also does C-Log 3, but the C-Log 2 log curve is my favorite log curve in the Canon lineup. It has the most dynamic range. They even talk about it having that. I just love how Rec 709 looks on top of it, and I get to that in all of the editing module, so if that doesn't mean anything to you yet, don't worry. But that basically turns it from that gray looking image into a standard looking image. And I like that standard looking image much more than the conversion on log 3. The beautiful thing about that log 2 curve in this camera is that it is doing MP4 as the codec. It's H.265, H.264, H.265. You don't have to whisper it. I guess you can.
I believe it's
H.265.
It's going to be right here.
Yeah. Numbers that don't really matter. So it is a much more compressed codec than raw or cinema raw light from Canon. When I was shooting weddings with the C200 and we were shooting raw, we were coming back with well over a terabyte of footage. And now if I rock the C70, my camera alone is only doing like 200 gigs on a wedding day, which is insane.
So much better. So much better.
But we're still seeing all the same kind of flexibility in that C-Log2 curve. And with a firmware update, you can actually get that same cinema raw light in this camera as well, if you wanted something that was more robust and had more flexibility in post to change the color temperature and all that good stuff. I do have it pretty broken down right now. I don't have a monitor on it right now. I'm in the midst of kind of figuring that out. It's still a fairly new camera for me. So you're just kind of seeing me in that middle ground right now. I will be updating that on YouTube as I build it out. And obviously the Facebook group for the classroom is always open to discuss this stuff. I'm leaning more towards the new Atomos 5-inch that can just be a small little monitor up here. But if I wanted to run with this thing, as I did recently on the Oregon wedding that we just shot, which is going to be featured in the editing module, the new editing module that's being added to the classroom, I shot it all without a monitor and with this LCD screen on the camera. It felt way too dark when I shot that, but it was just a camera brightness setting within the menu to elevate that brightness in the screen so that it wasn't just me relying on the waveforms on the camera screen. So that problem was solved. My problem with this cage hasn't been solved. And I feel like I'm just blabbering on and on. Steven's just sitting here quietly.
It's good.
What do you hate about this cage?
About the cage specifically? I thought you were going to say, what do you hate about this camera?
You're like, I hate nothing about this camera.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
The cage is a little challenging, specifically where they chose to mount the microphone, especially in the context of what Eric just said, which is using the flip-out LCD screen as your monitor. That in combination with the tube light that just died,
which we're gonna go
replace that. So what we really dislike about this specific cage is that the shock mount for the shotgun microphone is positioned very inconveniently right over the monitor. And when it's not rigged up right now, but if you have the mini XLR cables coming out of the side into the microphone, that's just another piece of confusion and just like spaghetti that is keeping you from actually using the monitor effectively. It's not a good design. So we are in the process of figuring out it's so annoying to use. Like every time we've been using this for anything YouTube related or short films or anything, and we have this on sticks set up somewhere, I keep turning the monitor back in so it's like at a 90-degree angle to the camera so I can actually see it.
And sticks just means tripod, by the way.
Yes. It's not good. So we are trying to figure out a better solution, which might involve some different rigging equipment that our friend Josh from Sunny 16 has been helping out with, including this handle that he gave you recently.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so he gave me this wooden camera handle, and that's literally the title of the company, Wooden Camera. It's much better than the original C70 top handle. Mm-hmm. That thing is like sandpaper, and that mic placement is also terrible. Mm-hmm. It's just up on the right side of the handle and you can barely sneak your hand in and you can't comfortably grab the camera like from this angle because the mic just sits right next to it. So I need to find some sort of cage where I can rig out the mic to be up over on the right side and out of the way. So I could still reach in for these buttons over here on the right side of the camera where I can hit record, on, off button, media, with the mic being up out of the way and this side of the camera over here being available for me to see my image if I'm using that, or to tap the screen for autofocusing. So we have all the same audio settings as the C200 in the back. We can dial in all of our audio there with the dials. Mm-hmm. We can put it on auto, we could put it on manual, there's phantom power, there's all the things you would need. I ditched the Noga arm on this setup because Josh made me do that. And we have this little rotating piece from Small Rig here where I'm probably going to get an Atomos 5-inch display. That's just a tiny display if I want to do that display. I don't know if I've already said that, but yeah, that's That's essentially the C70. It is just an incredible tiny little workhorse, and it's just motivating me to make tons of stuff. It's super easy to grab and go. To have this insanely compact, amazing cinema camera in this tiny little package is awesome. If that isn't in your budget and you're looking for something more like an R6 or an R5, these are other incredible options for filming as well if you don't want to get into the cinema camera game. So let's talk about R6 first and why you decided to start filming on that.
Yeah, R6 is overall a fantastic video camera for the price. Obviously, it's versatile, and that's photo and video, but it unlike the C70, it will shoot up to C-Log 3, which is kind of the next log version down from C-Log 2. Still very good to work with, not quite as enjoyable as C-Log 2, honestly, but it's still plenty of dynamic range, gives you a lot of flexibility in post to color grade with a Rec 709, and then a LUT on top of that. So the autofocus is excellent. I really enjoy the IBIS in it as well. It is an in-body image stabilized camera, so you have that sensor stabilization that is very, very effective, especially when combined with some of the RF lenses that have image stabilization in them as well.
But what's the problem we've been running into with wider lenses?
Yeah, that's a bummer for both of these cameras. If you are using the 15 to 35, for example, at 15 millimeters, you get this nauseating wobble on the corners of the image. So for anything, I don't know if you'd be using 15 at a wedding. Do you ever?
Only if I'm shooting on a Super 35 sensor.
Sure.
Yeah.
So I would not go any wider than 24 millimeters. Even I'd say probably stick around like 35 if you're going to use.
Just in general, honestly.
Yeah.
Super 35 sensor, it's going to look like a 24 mil look, like a full frame sensor. Yeah, on the R6 or R5, I wouldn't go any wider than 24. It will start just looking weird, and then if you also include the IBIS on top of that and get the wobbles,
it like ruins the footage. Honestly.
We've kind of made it a hard, fast rule that we don't use IBIS unless it's 50 millimeters or above.
Yeah, I think that's where you really appreciate the benefits of it the most, because you can get these really beautiful, almost gimbal-like shots if you're holding your camera steady enough. We've been using it with actually the RF 70-200 a little bit for video.
Which is crazy.
Oh my gosh, the stabilization in that lens with the IBIS is bonkers together. It's very cool. So having creative tools like that available in these two cameras is great if you know how to use them to your advantage. So that's another huge benefit.
Honestly, if I could get C-Log 2 in one of these cameras and be able to have IBIS with a 50 and a 70-200 and a little shotgun microphone like this, it's probably what my setup would be for a wedding day. Handheld. Yeah.
The two biggest, I'd say, in my opinion, differences between something like an R6 or R5 to a cinema camera like the C70 is the lack of, in this case, mini XLR and also internal NDs, which are inside the C70.
That's the other, which is huge. Yeah. So yeah, maybe I wouldn't. It's just such
NDs are awesome.
It's such a game changer. Once you get into that world, it's so hard to go back. I've literally forgot to bring ND filters on our last two trips. I had to go to B&H in New York City and buy one to put on the R5 because I forgot that I needed it. Because I've just been so used to having internal NDs.
I mean, when you get used to that, it is really hard to go back.
Yes.
Yeah. So, but again, very big price difference, especially between the R6 to the C70. At the time of making this is $5,500 for just the body. This is $2,500 for just the body. So I think for a lot of people maybe starting out, R6, fantastic option. Shoots 4K up to 60 frames per second. It does 1080 up to 120. The 4K 60, I think, is only available, though, to an external recorder.
Yes, which you should talk about next.
Speaking of, external recorder, right there. I don't know where that is. You can do that. Hey. I purchased in conjunction with the R6. I bought the Atomos Ninja 5 at the exact same time because I thought that would be a really good combo together because, again, there's a lot of good recording capabilities inside this camera. You sometimes need an external recorder to unlock some of those recording capabilities. And when I first bought this, Canon has actually improved this quite a bit through firmware updates, but there were a lot of overheating issues with these two cameras when they were first released. A lot of that has been mitigated since then through firmware updates, but because I was using an external recorder, that completely resolved any overheating problems, because this was doing all the heavy lifting. It was basically just using the sensor and the lens in the camera and taking all of that to here, where it was recording to the SSD in the back. It's also gave me the ability to record to ProRes directly, which was really, really nice, because it just made editing a lot easier.
So SSD standing for solid state drive. So it's literally just a hard drive in the back of the monitor, which you could either do proprietary, which is the actual Ninja SSD, or you could put a Samsung T5 or something like that with a USB-C cable. Could you do that with the R6? You'd need to adapt it.
Yeah. It's safer to go this.
Yeah. Because then you don't have a cable to malfunction in the middle of recording. If it got unplugged, you could corrupt a file, all that stuff. So yeah, it would be my recommendation to do the proprietary SSD on the back if you were going to go that route. That's another thing I wasn't even thinking about with going handheld with this. I don't know if I would trust that even still with overheating if I was going to shoot 4K.
I agree. I think for long-term, long hours of shooting, the fans also on that it's really nice to have. This is a pretty reliable package. I don't know how much I'd love it for a wedding day where you kind of want to be ready for things for, anywhere from 6 to 10 hours.
Unless you were shooting 1080, which the 1080 out of these cameras is actually really good.
It's great.
It
looks really good.
So you can either deliver in 1080 or upscale and post to 4K. We also talked about
Another quick distinction between the R6 and the R5 that the R6 only has the IPB file formats versus the R5 you can do all I.
The R6 doesn't have as high quality uncompressed file formats like the R5 does. And to be honest, I don't feel like there's much more going for the R5 video wise versus the R6. You also talked about ProRes. You might not know what that is yet. I'm going to cover that in the editing module 4. If you don't have this option to record to ProRes and you want to transcode your footage to ProRes, I'm going to teach you how to do that in module 4. Basically a super robust file that gives you tons of flexibility in post, and it edits like butter in Premiere. So you were rocking that setup for a long time, really loving it.
Yeah, no, it was a great combination.
And then I bought the C7 and you started stealing it from me all the time.
I love it so much more. It's a phenomenal camera.
You're probably going to buy one eventually.
It's full transparency. I mean, I already sold my R6 in favor of an R5, and I am pretty set on selling the Atomos as well, really to ultimately get in that direction. My business has diversified quite a bit where it's not just photo, it's photo and video. And for me, having one R5 and my old R as my backup camera for wedding days, and then having a C70 or whatever RF mount cinema camera that Canon continues to release throughout the year, that is much more the direction I want to go, because XLR for the mics and internal NDs and the form factor and never having to worry about overheating and having a really chunky battery is also an advantage, just not having to worry about going through the LPE6 batteries that are in the R5 and R6. There's just a lot of benefits that come with that.
So the other huge thing that when the R5 was announced that everyone was freaking out about is that it has 8K RAW.
Yeah, there's some YouTuber that made a really funny video about it.
That was like 3 years ago. That's crazy. But I have used the 8K RAW on it with some of the documentary work I've done. The documentary we're shooting this year, it's unbelievable. But you can overheat the camera very quickly. You have to have the CF Express Type B. CF Express Type B instead of the SD cards. That's the only card you can use to record the 8K RAW. But you do have more robust options with the R5C. And at this point, it's just like, feels like no one's ever going to get that camera because it's just been back ordered to oblivion.
Sorry, Braxton.
Yeah. So as is the case for Canon, a lot of times you're always kind of in this middle ground of like which one is going to work best for you, and you're going to have to adapt it somehow. So if you haven't even bought a camera or want to go completely into a new system, Sony has been doing really good things.
Yeah.
Getting an FX3 and A7S3.
Yep. Honestly, even the
FX6.
Sony A7 IV, just kind of like the standard, basically their version of an R6, a very capable camera.
Yeah, and so just running around with a small little camera body like that for a wedding is really enticing. This is such a great middle ground for me. I'm familiar with Canon as is. I've functioned with a C200 for 2 years and some of the biggest years of growth as a filmmaker. So it makes sense for me to kind of translate that back into a camera that is familiar to me, similar to the C200 that I got so familiar with over a couple of years. Yeah. So not much more to say other than that. If I were to be shooting R6 or R5 at a wedding as an A camera, I would want the Ninja 5 to record into, and I would be recording ProRes. And those are large files if you're shooting in 4K.
They are.
Another reason why this is champion again.
It's really nice.
For me.
Yeah. Obviously
more expensive. But you could even transcode that ProRes to a smaller form of ProRes and transcoding in post if you wanted to. But yeah, I mean, I would do a monitor and I'd probably rig it out with some sort of shotgun mic like that, like the Rode Video Mic Pro, and call it a day there. But anytime we are doing a wedding now, like we'll use the R5 as a B or C cam. And the ones we've done recently, I've done C70 as an A cam and C200 as a B cam. And it's been great. So finally, lenses. I bought the 50 RF 50 Prime f1.2 and the 15 to 35. I don't feel like I need to talk too much about this, if at all, because in the first gear module, I talked about the 16 to 35 and how much I was using it on the C200 at that point. Same exact reason why I have the 15 to 35 here. Incredible for versatility of imagery. On the Super 35 sensor, it's basically like a 24 to 50 lens. So it gives me that wide look and it gives me a little bit more of a compressed look, and I can pretty much run with it all day. If I need to be in a lower light situation, that's when I pull out 50 and go 50 prime. That might be a little too tight in some scenarios, but you could pretty much always make a 50 work unless you're like in a closet.
Yeah, which would be weird for a wedding day, so probably not.
If you're in like a super tight space, which but that gives you the ability to open the lens way up in dark scenarios.
Another really nice improvement compared to your 16 to 35, the RF 15 to 35 is obviously a little bit wider, but it also has stabilization in the lens, which is awesome because the C70 does not have IBIS. It has an electronic stabilization. So if you want to preserve the entirety of the sensor and not punch in to electronically stabilize, you can use the stabilization on the lens, and it's excellent.
And then also RF lenses, both on the photo and video side, had these control rings, which you can map to do different things, which is awesome. So that's another aspect of having RF and just getting into the system. Like, these cameras were built for these lenses, so it makes sense that you would do that. They are focused by wire lenses, so the manual focusing on them isn't the best. But the autofocus is generally just so good that it doesn't really matter.
But if you ever wanted to adapt other lenses with much better focus throws, i.e. not these lenses, Canon does make both an adapter to go from RF to EF and actually a speed booster that they made specifically for the C70 that actually opens up the... Hang on. It
gives you more light.
It basically gives you more light. It converts the lens to almost make it a full frame equivalent sensor. I've never used it, so I'm kind of talking out of my butt a little bit. But they do have that available as well. So that is another nice option to have if you just prefer other lenses and you don't want to get the RF lenses.
And yeah, we don't mean to overwhelm you with a bunch of information. Just know that there are so many options in any brand that you're working with. Take time to just rent stuff. Like, check it out, try things. You can go to borrowlenses.com. You could find a local camera store. You could there's a multitude of places where you can try things out, like get connected to your community, see what other people are using, and try to get your hands on different things to see what might work best for you. Start whittling that down, but do your best to like practice with these systems in a comfortable place, like on the weekend with your family or on a trip or whatever. Just kind of like doing a vlog and like getting your reps in on using it so that you feel comfortable on a wedding day. You don't feel like a fish out of water. Yep. Finally, I've really been using no different audio. All of the audio I've been using, still using a Zoom H5 out of speaker, the Sony IC Dux recorder right on the microphone, super helpful. But one addition of lighting, which is right here, the one that died earlier, is this Godox tube light. Godox, and it's like a lightsaber.
Luke.
Godox sent me these tube lights, 4 of them, and they're very, very cool. In the film industry, people use tube lights a lot. The industry standard a lot of people use are quasar tubes, which are, I'm assuming, much more expensive than these, but they're full LED and RGB color variable. The brightness is very good on them, but you can turn it into any color you want, which is awesome for dance floor and nighttime and just, yeah. So there are little pocket lights like the Aperture MC, little rectangle lights. I do not recommend Lume Cube. They sent us some stuff. It broke, not great.
The first time we used them, immediately broke.
But these are also color variable in the sense of Kelvin. So it's very cool right now, but we could warm it all the way up as well with a couple push of buttons. And yeah, it's just super awesome for dance floor and nighttime portraits and just getting creative with different things. So just wanted to mention that because I have been using these at weddings as well, either an assistant or a second shooter kind of running around with one at nighttime. And yeah, it's just super cool. Also just like a cake cutting, cutting that's in the corner and it's super dark, just run over with this.
Like every cake cutting ever.
Yes. Just in the dark corner. Yeah. It's not like super important footage.
It's not, but still you put them in the corner of some conference hall.
Yeah. But sometimes it might be like they're, smashing in each other's face. You don't want to miss that.
No.
You definitely don't want that to be dark. So, just wanted to mention that. But that is all the new stuff we have been working with. And if you have any questions, as always, you can ask in the Facebook group. And if you're not in the Facebook group, make sure you request. It's all the way at the beginning of the course. To get in there, you just need to share your order number with me in the questionnaire, and you'll be in. We're doing referrals in there and gear questions, and I will frequently, at least every other month, go in there and like ask, can I help with anything, and just leave an open question, whether it be gear or anything on the wedding day. So make sure you're taking advantage of that. Anything to add, Stephen?
In the Facebook group, when you finally see this, please ask me about the speed booster then, because I'm going to know a lot more about it then than I do right now.
Awesome. Okay.
Cool.
Catch you in the next module.
I won't, but...
Okay.